This is Arachnophilia by O'Callaghan. The tags are romance and random, and the description reads, Fluttershy shares a tender, loving moment with a gigantic tarantula. Cover image by Jazzy366M Defective. Story written specifically to disobey the instructions in the title of this thread, that thread being Don't Ship Fluttershy with a Tarantula. Enjoy and keep a bottle of brain bleach at hand. There's only one chapter, and it's titled Legs. Lots of legs. With a contented sigh, Fluttershy went through the door, back into her own cozy little cottage. It had been a long, hard day spent with her friends. She liked them, she really did, but being in social situations always sapped her energy, leaving her feeling drained when she finally found an excuse to go. And yet, she didn't want to completely reject such things. She just needed her alone time afterward. Her cottage was where she could rejuvenate herself, recharge. All her animals were there, and even though she had to take care of all of them, they somehow seemed to demand less of her than any ponies. She felt more comfortable around them, as if she could finally be herself, not having to put on a personable act. She slowly made her rounds, feeding, petting, cajoling, chastising, whichever each critter needed. Of course, there, crouched in the corner, with her legs huddled in around her, was Fluttershy's newest house guest. Petunia was a marvelous creature, astoundingly huge, the size of a pony, and for all her shy aloofness, a very sweet little thing. She was covered in a fine bristle of little brown hairs and the cutest little beady black eyes. And, oh, yes, Petunia was an enormous tarantula, the biggest Fluttershy had ever seen by far. The first time her friends had seen Petunia, they'd been certain that she was a monster invading from the Everfree forest, but Fluttershy had soon put a stop to that. Sure, Petunia had come from Everfree, and sure she looked monstrous, but she had a heart, or the arachnid equivalent of a heart, of pure gold. Hi Petunia. Eat any good flies lately? The spider unfurled her legs a little and clicked her mandibles together. She had a few feathers stuck in the bristles around her mouth. Wasn't that sweet? She had taken the time to help preen a bird or two. Petunia was finally opening up and getting to know the other animals. They all still huddled in fear of the giant spider, but Fluttershy was sure they'd come around eventually. Petunia's little black eyes glinted. Such a magnificent and fascinating creature. Fluttershy sat down on the couch near the corner, hoping to coax Petunia out of her sulk. The spider retreated further into the corner, molding herself into its shape as best she could, which was pretty impressive. She had made herself little more than a big ball of bristles and legs wedged in there. Oh, don't be frightened, Petunia. Fluttershy patted the couch next to her. Why don't you come and sit with me? The spider stirred. At her first motion, all the other critters in the room scattered, leaving just the two of them alone. Startled by the sudden motion, Petunia returned to her corner as well. It's okay. They'll get used to you and come around eventually. Don't be scared. Fluttershy patted the couch cushion again. Long minutes passed, but eventually Petunia stirred again. Her legs made strange, dry, creaky, rustling noises as she unfurled again, this time edging halfway up the wall to raise her eyes above the level of the couch's edge. Fluttershy gave her best charming smile. There you are. Aren't you beautiful? Petunia stayed there, sideways against the wall, for a long while, staring. It was incredible how far the spider's many legs could reach up the wall. She wasn't even as high as she could go, and her legs already stretched beyond the top of the window frame. Still smiling, Fluttershy just watched the spider watch her back. No one seemed to trust Petunia, not even the other critters, especially not the other critters. But something about the giant spider had always made Fluttershy feel comfortable, at ease, even from the very first time she'd seen her. It was undefinable, but they shared some connection deeper than words, deeper than thoughts, maybe even deeper than emotions could feel, but there was definitely something there. Here, girl, she said to the spider. Come and sit with me. We're good friends, you can trust me. Petunia jerked forward a little, up to the edge of the couch in one sudden burst of speed. Then she sat still again, looking, assessing the situation. Fluttershy watched the glittering of her many eyes. Other ponies told her that such a big spider could only have a cold, primitive, and calculating mind, that she was a menace to anything smaller than her. But surely those ponies had never looked closely at Petunia's eyes. They had such an intelligence, such a distant hidden warmth in their depths. Petunia scuttled right onto the couch, right next to Fluttershy, then froze again. She was so close now, Fluttershy would be able to feel her warmth if she had any. Still, though, there was something different. Some feeling in the air that would tell her, even with her eyes closed and her ears plugged, that a giant spider was right next to her. Petunia hadn't moved again. She was still facing directly towards Fluttershy, not sitting properly on the couch, but Fluttershy would take what she could get. She loved to see the big spider opening up like this, even though every pony else said she never would. If only they could see her now. Her outer and inner mandibles, armed with impressive fangs, curling through the air, smelling and probing to decide if it was safe. Fluttershy smiled and leaned closer to her new friend, just as Petunia moved forward as well. Neither had been expecting the other to move. They froze where they stopped, and Fluttershy noticed with utter shock that her lips were touching Petunia's outer mandibles. Had they kissed? She jumped back, and the spider did as well. Petunia didn't stop until she was all the way back, huddled in her corner, while Fluttershy touched where the spines had poked her muzzle, blushing furiously. Some treacherous voice in her head told her that she'd enjoyed that, even that she'd planned for that to happen, which was of course ridiculous. She blushed hard and looked at Petunia, huddled in the corner. What had that spider thought of the little exchange? Did she enjoy it? It was difficult to tell. Spiders were always hard to read, but Fluttershy liked to imagine that Petunia enjoyed it as well. And that was the end of today's fanfiction reading. Once again, in the description will be an MP3 of this reading for your own personal use, a fanfiction link to the actual fanfiction, a list of music used in this video, and, well, sorry for not uploading a video last week. There is an anime convention in the local area, so I kind of figured I would go to that instead of working on this fanfiction stuff. Not that I don't, enjoy it, but conventions are a once-a-year thing. So that's that, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Not sure if it's going to be next week because schoolwork is starting to pile up, but we'll just have to see.